we're about ready to build is an SPS-10. This is a spill stop. It's one of our units that we completely assembled, manufacture here at Blacoh. What we're going to do is make this unit out of these parts. What you see here, we're going to do step by step. There's a specific way we put these things together, right, George?
Yes.
Right. Okay. How we're going to start, George is going to go ahead and pull the parts, and I'm going to explain what he's doing. So go for it. What he's doing, he's pulling 90-degree elbows. He's going to hand tight these elbows onto the larger outer 3/4 inch ports. These are NPT. He's going to install one side and then the other. Now we're going to install the 1/2 inch plug into the 1/2 inch port that we use for testing purposes. When the spill stop is in the application, they do preventative maintenance on their systems. And one way of determining whether this is operating is they pull this 1/2 inch plug, fill it with water in order to rise up the plunger, which will turn off the pump. So very important part of this whole assembly. Okay, next we install the actuator valve. This actuator valve will have a piston inside the valve, and upon the plunger on the internal part of the dampener, once the plunger rises, it will press this button and direct the airflow to shut off the pump. Go ahead and install that. It's very important. This actuator valve has two separate sides, one loaded with threaded ports, the other side empty. We're going to take the empty side and put it on and facing the direction of where the 1/2 inch plug is. George is going to tighten that down. The regulator assembly, and this is what operates the pump. There's 1/4 inch ports all the way around this assembly. And to determine on what port goes where, what direction, we've got an in and we've got an out. So the in port would be where the manual 1/4 inch male end of the quick connect goes, followed by the regulator 1/4 inch nipple, which we call it a stand. Then we have the 1/4 inch push connection, followed by the 1/4 inch gauge. And that is complete. Okay. Once George finished tightening out the actuator valve, we will install the regulator package screwed down firmly onto the top. The gauge facing the same direction as the 1/2 inch plug and facing the emptied side of the back of the actuator valve. Next, we will install your barbed push connections. We have 5 separate ports here, 3 rows and 2 rows. We will be installing push connections, barbed push connections, at port 3, 2, and 4 only. Go ahead, George. Ports 3, 2, and 4 have now been completed with the barbed connections. So now we install the vinyl 1/4 inch hose. Will be attached directly to the push in connection of the regulator assembly, and we'll go to port number 3, barbed connection, pushed on, firm, very tight, will not escape once air pressure is applied to the unit. First, we'll take the plunger with the rod guide. We will pre-assemble the push connection. Hold on.
Compression nut.
We will assemble the compression nut onto the push connection, along with the sealing O-ring. Set that aside. Then we will install the other half of the push connection fitting onto an 1/8" rod guide. We will then thread it into the port, the center port of the spill stop. Use a normal crescent wrench to tighten firmly. There's no pre-distance or length it needs to be, as long as it's firm and tight. Then we install the rod guide, plunger, and compression nut all in one, and hand tight the compression nut onto the other half of the compression fitting. Hand tight, and this is to judge how tight the ball must be in order for it to drop. What this does and simulates is pushing the rod guide into the actuator valve to redirect the air to allow the pump to turn off and turn on. So this example is a perfect example of how tight that nut needs to be. We need to be able to put pressure to stop the pump and enough pressure not to resist it to drop as well. Okay, now we finish with the rest of the installation. We will take the concentrator, put the concentrator in place on the other half of the 3/4" port on the air inlet side, and on the discharge we'll have another 90 that we will just hand tight on the undercarriage as well. And there you have a completed spill stop SPS 10 assembly. Now we'll install it. Okay, next we take the 1/4" ball valve connection. This is to secure the material inside the unit and keep the valve hand tight. No more than. And then we'll flip it upside down and put it into the spill stop stand along with the Norel ring band. And it fits firm all the way around the unit. And that will keep it suspended in order for it to drain when necessary, and keep the unit with these bolt pattern to where you can adhere it to any ground support you want. Okay, next we put the O-ring in the O-ring groove. There you go. And then install the spill stop assembly, and make sure it sits firmly into the O-ring groove to match up to the bottom. Once that's done, we place the other half of the ring band on in position and get ready to install the bolts. Once the bolts are installed, we will lubricate to keep the bolt and nut from seizing. Then install the nuts. Now that we've assembled the hardware, now it's time to tighten. And remember that when we tighten the ring beds, we do a cross hatch pattern to allow the bands to slowly but surely come flush equally all around. We don't want to go too heavy on one side and light on the other, because then we have a problem of it not sealing correctly. Go ahead, George. Now that we've completed the SPS-10, the assembly is pretty basic and it can cross-reference to all the other models. Most of the assembly and all the instructions are duplicate. And that concludes the spill stop.